So what I want to show you is this tree. This tree right here is a wild cherry tree. And if you have these on your land, you really don't want them if you are grazing your land. Let me get a little closer here. I'll stand up and show you. So you can see the little wild cherries on it. You can see the bark on these, and I've got a couple of these down the line here. And the reason these are bad is whenever the leaves on these, if a branch was to snap and fall down, if cattle eat those leaves whenever they're stressed, so in a drought situation, late in the summer, whenever they're getting ready to fall off, or if you have like a light frost but not an actual, killing frost, it'll stress them. Whenever that happens, that cherry tree puts out a toxin, and if those cattle eat those leaves whenever they are stressed, it will kill them. So these trees are bad news. If you have these, I would encourage you to get rid of them, and at the very least go through, and if you see new ones popping up, to knock them down, kill them, snip them off, whatever. But those little fruits on there, they get ate by birds and raccoons and possums and everything that eats a wild berry, and then that's what makes it grow. They go out, defecate that out, and a tree comes up. So these trees, knock on wood, I've never had any issues with them, but I know people that have, and I'm very cautious, kind of watching for limbs that will fall down. If they fall and the cattle are over here, I come through and I get those taken care of immediately. So just another reason why you ought to run your edges at least once a week, preferably more if you can, but at least weekly. Just kind of watch for stuff like that. And I've actually got a limb over here that is down, so we'll have to grab it and do something with it. It looks like it's kind of maybe a dead limb which fell out, which is fine, but things to watch for, because they are killers. This right here is kind of a similar tree, but not the same thing. If you go off of straight berries, this looks like it has them. Let's see if we can get it in the shot here. So this one right here is a hackberry tree, and so they get those little hackberries on them. The bark is not the same as those wild cherry trees, so learn to tell them apart. Hackberry trees, in my opinion, are great. They provide food for wildlife, and the leaves on them are not toxic. So if the cattle were to eat this, not a big deal. So just because it has those little berries, not necessarily a bad thing. So hackberry and a wild cherry. Look it up online, Google it. You'll have a lot better pictures, but just a couple of things to watch out for. Get out of the sun so you can see me. So here's another one you probably ought to pay attention to, and that is perilla mint. This is an invasive species, which is also toxic to cattle. So watch it and see if you got it. If you do, you can either hit it, kind of dig it out with a hoe. If you got a larger amount of it, some kind of a herbicide, that a selective herbicide like a grazing, remedy, something like that, works really well on it. This is what it looks like. So also something to think about as you're out and about looking in your pastures. And last but certainly not least is Johnson grass. So I kind of have a love-hate relationship with Johnson grass. I went through and I sprayed out a bunch of it. You'll see this if you don't have it established. You'll see this a lot of times in places where you feed hay, especially bought hay. Johnson grass is one of those grasses, the cows that go in there, they'll eat it up like it's candy. And as far as protein goes, it's really not a bad plant, but whenever it gets stressed, so stressed as in drought, maybe you sprayed it, didn't get it killed out, or it gets the first frost where it's not all the way dead, but it's dying. Whenever that happens, it becomes highly toxic. And if your livestock eat it at that point in time, bad things happen. So get to the point where you can recognize Johnson grass. You know, I'll go through and I'll graze it out. I have for years, and they will go through and just demolish it. But you got to be careful. You know, once it's been stressed, once it's been grazed down, drought, or a light frost, that's whenever you have to be careful of it. You know, if it comes back and it grows back up and they graze it again, everything's fine. But you just got to watch for it.